What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Motivate, Grind, Succeed, the podcast. I'm Rasean, your host and your favorite internet neurotransformation coach. And today we are going to be going through the 5-step process for you to hit your goals. You got a goal? You want to achieve it? How do you do it? 5 steps I got for you. Let's hop right into it. Number 1 is actually reevaluating your goal. Make sure your goal is good. Make sure it's crystal clear. Make sure that it is actually essential for the success that you actually want to hit. If you don't know where you're going, how in the world will you know that you've gotten there? I actually made a video on my YouTube channel breaking down goal setting into a science and a framework that you can use. And it comes packed with a downloadable worksheet and everything. So if you want to check that out, check out the link in this episode's description for you to go ahead and check that video out. But an example of your goal. So a lot of people say, oh, I want to travel more. That's not a good goal. It's just not a good goal. Instead of saying I want to travel more, I want to travel the world. That's too broad. What you want to say is something more along the lines of, I want to travel the world, visit the Swiss Alps, swim with dolphins, and take a selfie with a kangaroo within the next 5 years. That's a whole lot better of a goal than just, I want to travel more or I want to travel the world. Way, way better of a goal. Because now there's actually meat to it. You actually put a timeline and a time frame to it. You got more specific on what it is that you actually want to get out of your goal. You follow the SMART or SMARTer goal framework. So good for you. That's step number 1. Make sure that goal is crystal clear. Make sure it's set. Make sure it has that emotional why behind it as well. Number 2, step 2, is understanding that success or this goal is going to require some sacrifice. This sacrifice can be as simple as watching 1 hour less of Netflix or waking up 1 hour earlier. What you want to do is identify what you need to give up in order to achieve your goal effectively. Now, this is going to most likely require you to let go of some comfort. Sometimes old habits and routines, they need to be left behind inside of your comfort zone. And I'm actually going to have another video. It's already being planned out right now, where I'm actually going to explain the comfort zone and the different zones that actually come after the comfort zone, between the comfort zone and the growth zone. So be sure to be on the lookout on my YouTube channel for that. I'm working pretty hard on it right now. And there actually are going to be, I believe it's going to be 4 zones, including comfort and the growth zone. And there, I'm going to be explaining to you why it's so difficult for people to leave that comfort zone. But until I get that video out and made, go back to episode 145, where I talk about the dangers of staying in your comfort zone and how to overcome it. Now we got step number 3, which is to establish some deadlines. Remember back in step number 1, where I said to set your crystal clear goals, and that your goal should not be, I want to travel more, I want to travel the world more. It should be traveling the world, seeing the Swiss Alps, swimming with dolphins, taking a selfie with a kangaroo within the next 5 years. You want to set the deadline, which in that case was 5 years. Setting a realistic and definitive deadline is crucial for turning your goals from a dream into reality, because without a deadline, goals simply just remain as a wish. Instead of saying, oh, I'll just start a podcast one day, set a deadline and take action, just like I did, because I didn't do that when I first started it. I said in February of 2020, I want to start my own podcast. I didn't put out an episode until November of 2020 because I put no skin in the game behind that goal. That's partially why it took so long for me to actually start the show. I had this goal. I had a sort of a plan, but I wasn't actually putting any action behind it. I wasn't practicing what I'm preaching now. I'm telling you this because these things work. I wouldn't be here making this episode right now if I didn't do those eye pits way back in November of 2020. There's no way I would be here today. You need to put action behind your goal, action behind your plan, and actually do. There's no other way around it. Step 4 with this is to create a detailed plan. You want to reverse engineer your goal. And I already made a mention of what I'm about to say now, but you want to break down your goal into smaller, manageable chunks. These are your eye pits. Let's take an example. If you have a goal that's built around travel, calculate the cost, divide it by the months between the day you're going to leave and the day that it is today in terms of the months, and find a way to save that amount per month. So if your trip is going to cost you $5,000 and you have, let's say, 10 months to get $5,000, you need $500 a month. Now, that's great. You have the numbers. Cool, simple math. Now comes the hard part. You need to adjust your lifestyle so that way you can meet that savings goal. That means you may have to downgrade your Netflix. You may have to get rid of Hulu. You may have to cancel Disney Plus. You may have to learn how to cook and start removing that meal prep service. Oh, this one's going to be difficult. You may have to get a cheaper phone plan. You may have to change phone carriers. You may have to sell your car and get a cheaper one that you can make better payments on. If you're in a position to be able to do this, you may have to change where you live. Now, these are more long-term goals for what you want to do, but at this point, you have to look at it depending on the importance of your goal and how badly you want it. The choices you need to make may be more severe than others. You may need to make some cutthroat decisions, and at least at the start, you can't take anything off the table. This is the harsh reality. Some goals will require you to have this sort of sacrifice. Are you willing to do it? Again, how badly do you want the goal? How badly does this emotional why appeal to you? How aligned with your purpose and passions in life is this goal for you? If it's that near and dear to your heart, I'm not saying it'll be easy, but you'll find a way to make it do. You'll find a way to get it done. You'll either find a way or you'll find an excuse, but you can't do both. The last step in this process is to simplify success. Once you have your goal, once you have your plan, once you have your time frame and all these kind of good things, now you want to make it as easy for your brain as possible to actually act on these things. You want to design your environment in a way that is conducive to your success. And the way you want to do this is by lowering the activation energy. Now, in chemistry, there is a term called activation energy. In plain man's terms, all it means is that in order for a reaction to take place, there needs to be a certain amount of input for it to happen. A certain amount of input creates an output. And so the best way to get the output that you want is to have as minimal input as possible. It's also known as leverage. And so what you want to do with your tasks that you need to do in order to achieve your goal is lower that activation energy threshold. So for me, for example, the way I have my room set up is I have my desk in a corner of the room and I have my bed in the other corner of the room. So that way the activation energy is so small for me to just get out of bed, use the bathroom, and then just come straight back to the computer and get to work. It's that easy. I even have activation energy so simple that I could ask my smart home assistant to turn on my lights. So for example, when my alarm clock goes off in the morning, I also have it synced up. So at the same time, I have an automation that turns the lights on in my room to help me to wake up faster. I'm reducing the activation energy. Instead of me having to get up, get the alarm off, I wake up in the darkness, I got to go turn on the light. It's already dark. You don't really want to be up anyway. Now the lights are on. So now there's even less need for me to go and do activities that early in the morning and potentially not get what I need to get done. So delegate, outsource it to some smart assistants. Let your Alexa or whatever take care of whatever it needs to take care of. Set the automations. They're there. So go ahead and do that. With that being said, those are the 5 steps. I don't want to drag these points out much longer than they need to. So those are your 5 steps that you need to go through. I'll repeat them again real quick for you so you can go ahead and write them down or take notes on them. Step 1 is setting the crystal clear goals. Be detailed, be specific. Step number 2 is to understand that sacrifices will need to be made. They will be on different severity levels, but they need to be made. Number 3 is to establish the deadlines. Set definitive deadlines, because if you give it 20 years to get done, you'll take 20 years to get it done. If you give it 20 seconds, you'll do what you can in 20 seconds. How it works. Number 4 is to create a detailed plan. You want to break down your goal into manageable chunks and adjust your lifestyle accordingly. And lastly, simplify your success. Design your environment in a way that lowers the activation energy as low as reasonably possible, so that way you can make the progress as easy as possible for yourself. That's what I have for you for this week's episode. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you implement something. Take care, and I will see you all in the next episode.
And guys, that's gonna wrap up this week's episode of Motivate, Grind, Succeed, the podcast. Guys, again, if you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe to the show for weekly uploads. If you love what you heard, be sure to sign up for that email list. And if you hated what you heard, be sure to share it with somebody who will appreciate it. Also, if you guys want to get access to the show notes or any kind of resource or link or to anything that was referenced in this episode, be sure to check out that episode description below. You'll also find the contact information, any freebies, or any sort of thing from our little corner of the internet. Check out the episode description. It's going to be an absolute gold mine for you guys. Until next time, take care, and I will see you in the next episode.